Good morning. Today we are going to learn about Subhash Chandra Bose. Subhash Chandra Bose was a young, energetic, vibrant, and clever nationalist leader. He was very brave as well. Subhash Chandra Bose, born on 23rd January 1897 at Cuttack in present-day Odisha. 23rd January, born on 23 January at Cuttack. Which is at present in Odisha. After his school education, he went to England and he passed the Indian Civil Service examination. He became an IAS. He is the first youngest Indian to become an IAS or to qualify the IAS exam. He was the first youngest Indian to qualify the Indian Civil Service exam. After qualifying the Civil Service exam, he served under the British Indian government, but he soon resigned the job because he wanted to work for the freedom of India. He wanted to join in the Indian freedom struggle movement. So in his opinion, one could not be loyal to the British and at the same time cannot participate in the national movement honestly. That is why he gave preference to the national movement and he resigned the job under the British government. He joined the Indian national movement at the age of 23, 24. And when the non-cooperation movement was going on, he joined the Indian national movement. He was very much attracted towards the Indian national movement, which was launched by Mahatma Gandhi, that is the non-cooperation movement. And he became an active member of the non-cooperation movement. But he was disappointed when Mahatma Gandhi suspended the non-cooperation movement due to the Chowri incident. And he criticized Mahatma Gandhi as it a national calamity. Suspension of non-cooperation movement was criticized by Subhash Chandra Bose as a national calamity because it disappointed him. And he was a strong follower of Mahatma Gandhi. He loved Mahatma Gandhi very much, but he could not adjust with the ideologies of Mahatma Gandhi. There was much difference in the opinion and ideologies of Mahatma Gandhi. That is why he joined in the Congress Rajist party. He was not a follower of Mahatma Gandhi. He was following the Congress Rajist party. And in many of the ideas, like the dealing with the opponents, many of the policies like dealing with the opponents, and economic matters, industrial policies of India, in all these things, Subhash Chandra Bose had a different opinion from Mahatma Gandhi. And this ideological difference that gradually developed. And finally, this friction caused for a clash between, open clash between Subhash Chandra Bose and Mahatma Gandhi. That became sufficient in the presidential election of International Congress in 1939. Subhash Chandra Bose was elected as the president of International Congress in 1938. That is in the very first session. And in 1939 also, Subhash Chandra Bose contested the presidential election, and he won the election at the Tripuri session in 1939. This was not liked by Mahatma Gandhi. And Mahatma Gandhi's group started to create problems to Subhash Chandra Bose. Thus finally, Subhash Chandra Bose found it difficult to continue as the president of International Congress, as many of the supporters of the Congress Working Committee withdrew their support to Subhash Chandra Bose. They openly started to criticize Subhash Chandra Bose, and Subhash Chandra Bose found it difficult to continue as the president of International Congress. So he resigned as the president of International Congress on 29th April 1939. Before resigning as the president of International Congress, he made plans. He decided to resign as the president of International Congress, but before resigning as the president, he thought what else to be done after resigning as the president of International Congress. Thus he made a clear-cut plan about what to do after his resignation. And he resigned on 29th April 1939. And not much later, he formed a new political party. That's on 3rd May 1939. He formed a new political party named the Forward Bloc, combining all the left wings in the Indian National Congress. He formed a new political party or a new wing in the Congress, which is known as the Forward Bloc. So Subhash Chandra Bose formed a new political party called the Forward Bloc. Forward Bloc was in 3rd May 1939, Subhash Chandra Bose formed the Forward Bloc. This was a left-wing party. The farmers, all the left wings of the Indian National Congress, like youth, like so many categories of people were there as members of the Forward Bloc. And the aim of Forward Bloc was to liberate India from the British hands, to free India from the British rule. That was the objective, main objective of the Forward Bloc. And Subhash Chandra Bose continued the activities of the Forward Bloc, and the British authorities found Subhash Chandra Bose as a big threat to the existence of the British in India. So the British government planned to suppress Subhash Chandra Bose. As a result, they arrested Subhash Chandra Bose in July 1940. July 1940, Subhash Chandra Bose was arrested under the Defense of India rules, and he was imprisoned. When Subhash Chandra Bose was the only leader of the Forward Bloc, he was arrested. The activities of the Forward Bloc were stopped. So Subhash Chandra Bose wanted to come out from the prison, from the jail. That is why he started a fast to death in the jail. he started a hunger strike in the jail. As a result of this hunger strike, his health declined. He became sickly. So the British authorities planned to release him. Thus he was released, but he was kept under house arrest. After releasing him from jail, he was put under house arrest. House arrest means a person is restricted for his movement only in his house. He cannot go out of his house or the premises of the house. His contacts with the others are also restricted. So he was kept under the strict supervision of the British police. So he had no freedom to go out. He is not in the jail, but he has no contact with the others. He cannot contact with anybody outside his home. He cannot go out of his home. So thus total restriction for the movement except from the house. That is called house arrest. But I told Subhash Chandra Bose was very witty and brave, very clever. So he made a plan to escape from the house arrest. He disguised as a Pathan and eluding the police vigilance, he escaped from the house arrest in January 1941. In January 1941, Subhash Chandra Bose, using his wit and cleverness, he eluded the police vigilance and escaped from the house arrest. He escaped from the house. And after his escape, immediately he travelled towards northwestern part of India and crossed the Indian border. He reached Peshawar and from Peshawar to Russia. From Russia he reached Germany. He reached Germany because Germany was a safe place for him. Because Germany and Britain both are enemies. So British police or British authorities never reached Germany to catch Subhash Chandra Bose. So he was safe in Germany and thus he reached Germany. After reaching Germany, he wanted to continue the freedom struggle movement. He wanted to work for the freedom of India. When he reached Germany, the Indian community in Germany welcomed him, calling him as Netaji. And he was greeted, Jai Hind. People greeted Subhash Chandra Bose, Jai Hind, and welcomed him to Germany, and he was called Netaji. The Subhash Chandra Bose was called Netaji. In Germany, when after reaching Germany, he did not stay his full time or a whole time in Germany. He traveled to different other European countries and Indian people. He motivated the Indian people who were living in European countries, various European countries. He started to broadcast nationalist ideas in the radio, and thus outside India also he formed a group which is ready to fight for the freedom of India. Thus he formed Free India centers in the European countries, and he motivated the Indians in the freedom of the freedom of India. During this time, Second World War started, or at the time of his arrest and these things were happening or taking place, Second World War was already started. It started in 1939. And we know that, we have learned in the previous chapter that in Second World War, Japan was fighting against Britain and its allies. Japan was fighting together with Germany against the Allied powers. So Japan was conquering one after another Asian nations, South Asian nations, which were the colonies of the Allied nations, Britain and the Allied nations. Thus, when Japan was attacking these South Asian nations, a large number of soldiers were taken as prisoners of war, and a large number of Indian soldiers were also taken as prisoners of war. Indian soldiers means British had recruited large number of Indians to the British Indian Army, and when the Second World War started, this British Indian Army was sent to other countries, other Asian countries also, to protect their interest and to protect their territories. So, large number of British Indian soldiers were sent to the other Southeast Asian nations. When Japan captured these Southeast Asian nations, large number of these Indian soldiers were taken as prisoners of war. It was during that time, two of the Indian leaders who were living in Singapore, Malaya, Southeast Asian regions, named Raj Bihari Bose and Mohan Singh, conceived the idea of forming an army. They formed Indian Independence League, many local organizations they formed in Southeast Asian countries. The Indians who lived in Southeast Asian countries formed various organizations in order to protect the interest of the Indians during the critical time of war and to work for the liberation of India as well. So many small organizations were formed. One such important organization was the Indian Independence League. It was one of the main organizations formed in Southeast Asia for the liberation of India as well as to protect the interests and the rights of Indians in Southeast Asia. Indian Independence League. Indian Independence League. So Raj Bihari Bose was the leader of this league. Mohan Singh was also the associate. Both of them were escaped from India. Raj Bihari Bose was a revolutionary who escaped from India and was living in Southeast Asia. Mohan Singh was an army commander, a commander of the British Indian Army, and who was also not ready to work for the British. He also wanted to work for the freedom of India. So these two leaders joined hands and they made the plan for making an army which would be able to fight against the British. So these leaders, they put their idea before the Japanese authorities, Japanese government, because Japan was also fighting against Britain. So when Indian leaders put this idea of forming an army to fight against the British, the Japanese authority welcomed it. The Japanese government also promised to give all help to form such an army. Thus, the Japanese government handed over all the Indian prisoners of war to Rashbihari Bose and Mohan Singh. Almost some 45,000 of Indian prisoners of war were captured, and they handed over these prisoners of war to Rashbihari Bose. Out of this, almost some 40,000 soldiers were ready to join in the army to fight against the British. Thus, with these prisoners of war and many other Indians who were living in Southeast Asian countries willing to join in the army, they all formed Rashbihari Bose and Mohan Singh. Together, they formed an army with these Indians, Indian people, Indian citizens, and the prisoners of war, and formed an army. And during this time, when they were making all these plans, they formed some meetings with the other Indian leaders and the leaders of this Japan and some other Southeast Asian countries. So two of the meetings were very important. One was the Tokyo Conference and the other was the Bangkok Conference. In 1942, two important meetings were held by these leaders of the Indian Independence League with the leaders of Japanese government and some other Southeast Asian countries. And in this Tokyo Conference and Bangkok Conference, they took some of the important decisions. One of the main decisions taken in this conference was invite Subhash Chandra Bose from Germany to Singapore to lead the army, to lead the Indian Independence League and the Indian National Army. So thus, as per the decision, they invited Subhash Chandra Bose from Germany to Singapore and to participate and to join or to lead the army. This army was named Azad Hind Fauj or the Indian National Army. Thus, as per the invitation, Subhash Chandra Bose planned to come to Singapore with the help of Japanese, with the help of German and Japanese government. He reached Singapore in 1943, and he took the charge of Indian Independence League. After reaching Singapore, he took the charge of Indian Independence League, and a month later, he became the Supreme Commander of the Indian National Army, or he took the charge of Commander of Indian National Army. Thus, the second phase of Indian National Army began with the coming of or with the arrival of Subhash Chandra Bose. This Indian National Army was a unique army because it had no land of its own. It had no resources of its own, no army, no weapon, nothing was there of its own. The army was running with the help of the Axis powers, especially the help of Japan, contributions given by Japan, medicines, equipments, weapons, and everything was the contribution of Japan and the other Axis powers only. When Japan captured Indian territories like Andaman and Nicobar Islands, the Japanese government handed over Andaman and Nicobar Islands to Subhash Chandra Bose. Thus, Subhash Chandra Bose, or the Indian National Army, got a territory of its own, and he renamed these islands as Swaraj and Shahid. Then they started working for the liberation of India. When the army was formed, Subhash Chandra Bose took the decision that Indian National Army shall not attack India without the consent of the Indian National Congress. Indian National Army work for the liberation of India or attack the British government only if the Indian National Congress invite. And in 1944, with the help of Japanese army, with the backing of Japanese army, Indian National Army planned to attack India. It captured some of the eastern territories of India, but something undesirable happened during that time when Indian National Army was attacking India. Climatic situation changed all of a sudden. Then secondly, Japan had to wage war with the USA in the Pacific Ocean. So Japan was need of army in order to wage war against the US fleet in Pacific Ocean, the Hawaii's. So Japan withdrew its force from Indian border and sent its force back to Pacific region. And due to the withdrawal of Japanese force, the strength of the support earlier got to Indian National Army lost. Indian National Army around was fighting in the Indian borders, and during this time the British Indian Army or the British Army from all sides surrounded the armament of Indian National Army, and thus the Indian National Army was defeated in this war. After the defeat, the armament of Indian National Army or the soldiers of the Indian National Army was captured and imprisoned. They were later tried in India only. Thus, Indian National Army was defeated, and when Indian National Army was defeated, some other incidents also took place. Japanese army was defeated by the Allied powers, and Japan surrendered 15th August 1945. Japan surrendered before the Allied powers. Japan lost the war, Second World War, and surrendered. With the surrender of Japan, the position of Subhash Chandra Bose became very critical. Immediately, he planned to leave the Indian borders. Soon he rushed towards Bangkok, and from Bangkok he was flying to Tokyo. And on the way to Tokyo, he met a plane crash. And it is believed that Subhash Chandra Bose died in the plane crash on 18th August 1945. The Japanese authorities says that Subhash Chandra Bose died in the plane crash on 18th August 1945. So we believe that Subhash Chandra Bose died on 18th August 1945 because we have to rely on the Japanese sources. There is no Indian reports to show that Subhash Chandra Bose died on 18th August. But the only source is the Japanese version only. So we believe that Subhash Chandra Bose died. But some mysteries are there regarding the death of Subhash Chandra Bose. Some controversies are prevailing. It is not confirmed that Subhash Chandra Bose died in that plane crash. Anyhow, thus we lost one of the bravest freedom fighter and nationalist leader for India, a glorious chapter of freedom fighter ended by the death of Subhash Chandra Bose on 18th August 1945. That's something about Subhash Chandra Bose. And in this lesson, we have to learn mainly about the Forward Bloc and the Indian National Army. So we'll learn these topics in the next class. This is just an introduction only, and the topics Forward Bloc and the International Army we will learn in next class. So you read the lesson and understand it. Thank you.